Previously on Living with the Boys.
Tony, you can't keep cheating like this. It isn't fair on Sarah.
Well, Sarah won't find out, will she?
That's the thing, Tony.
Connor, you've been Sarah all along? Yeah, but there's something else. The results are in, and your biological father is Sean. You've been here all along.
Wait, no, it can't be. No! Okay, that's not what really happened. But don't you hate it when a show does that recap like every 4 episodes, like its demographic of the kind of people that think bingo is fun, underwear is too dry, and tea is at its best when it's been shaken vigorously? We binge shows in this generation. We have to. Because if there is even a 10-second lapse in our attention, we'll end up being reminded of all the twisted and tragic crap going on in the world by 80% of the apps on our phone. All we want to do is forget what it's like to be alive for the vast majority of the day. Is that too much to ask? But that being said, if you are new here, this video is a part 2. You can find the first part in the card in the corner and in the description. And there's also a button which might interest you that makes me make a funny noise. Ha! But before I crack on, let me take a moment to thank the returning and wonderful sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspirational classes for creative and curious people to explore new skills, develop existing interests, and get lost in creativity. Recently, I enjoyed a class by the charismatic Andy J. Pizza called Find Your Style, which is a great class that goes through different creative exercises to help you find and better understand your own creative style in whatever it is you do. If you're someone who struggles with ideas or spends way too much time hyper-focused on tiny choices in your work that often bog you down, I highly recommend it as it's got some fantastic tips and tricks inside. So whether it's the first time you've laced your boots or you've been kicking a ball for years, you're doing it for the satisfaction or you're doing it for the financials, there is a class for every level of noggin noodle. And for you disgusting low-life extroverts with all your excitement and well-adjusted social skills clogging up the place with all your questions, touching and genuine concern for other people. Skillshare also has live classes where you can experience real-time inspiration as you connect with popular teachers while watching and working along with other members. So if any of that lubes your mental boobs, the first 1,000 members of the Ducky Army to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start hustling your creativity today. So it was late in the evening and myself and the boys were just after watching Sucker Punch with the very lovely Emily Browning. So we were all each in our rooms doing exactly what you would expect us to be doing. Hef was obviously giving his press a quick wash. I was after having a quick power nap. And PJ? Well, PJ was having a whack. So as soon as the post-nap moment of clarity starts to fade and we all stop crying, we rendezvous in the kitchen for a cup of tea and some sophisticated conversation.
Okay, you get 10 million quid, but for you, every woman's face on earth will be replaced with Quentin Tarantino's, and you have to hold eye contact through the final stretch.
That's a tough one for me and you, but it's a win-win for Ducky, given the quality of women he beds. Oh, I would have thought it would have been an easy choice for somebody who pays their bills like they've been dishing out suck jobs outside the local arcade. But as we were solving the world's socio-economic crises, the doorbell goes, and who is it? Only my co-worker Adrian and me and Hef's personal supplier of the good stuff, Catherine. They're a couple, by the way. And as promised, she has brought the stuff. Yes, the kind of thing that will keep us up all night. The kind of thing that cola owes its namesake to. The greatest chemical known to man beginning with a C. That's right, I'm obviously talking about caffeine. Catherine had hooked us up with a slab of Monster energy drinks that she was able to get us at the shop she works at for cost price. Isn't that lovely of her? What are you looking at me like that for? What else would I have been talking about? Oh wait, you thought I was talking about No Snow, didn't you? Bunch of junkies watch my videos, I swear. Do you honestly think that 3 lads who struggle to afford rent can support a habit of nostril sugar? I upload once a month. That's not exactly the schedule of somebody who's currently vibrating from a powerful stimulant, is it? Besides, with Hef's ability for longevity in the bedroom, it's best to keep that kind of potential energy away from him, or he'll come drilling clean through the f***ing ceiling. So we invite in Adrian and Catherine, load up on some energy drinks, which was probably a little bit ill-advised, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and spend a few hours talking shite and watching YouTube videos with Adrian in charge of the video selection. This man showed us Gangnam Style when it was on like 35,000 views, so he very much had his finger on the pulse of internet culture, so we couldn't have really asked for a better video DJ. Eventually, he showed us a video on this growing sensation at the time called the Cinnamon Challenge, where people would shove a spoonful of dried cinnamon into their gob and do their best trying not to choke to death face. Yeah, even 10 years ago the internet was obsessed with stupid and dangerous challenges. Granted, cinnamon is at least supposed to be consumed, unlike some challenges these days, but it doesn't take a genius to know that shoving a spoonful of very irritating powder into the same hole you breathe from isn't a fantastic idea. Like, who looks at that and goes, hey, nearly choking to death on disgusting brown powder seems like a laugh, doesn't it? F***ing morons. But anyway, it's just about 1 AM and we are on our way to the closest 24-hour shop to buy some cinnamon. Okay, do as I say, not as I do. Not that I need to tell you not to do it anyway. If you did the cinnamon challenge in the 2020s, you'd be laughed out of the internet's locker room. If you want to be taken serious these days online, you'd have to do something like a standing under a tall building and scoring jumpers like an Olympic diver challenge. Now, the shop was about an hour and a half round trip from where we lived, but given we had extended friends in the car, we found ways to make the journey fly by. Oh shit, we're after forgetting Sean. Sean? No, Sean.
Don't worry, it's alright. I asked him already if he wanted to come, but he says he has an appointment in the morning at the hospital.
I was thinking he was sounding a little hoarse this morning.
Yeah, he's been suffering badly with the old hay fever.
So we got to the shop, got what we needed, and headed home. Nothing really of note happened other than us winding up the poor lad in the graveyard shift when he got curious about the quantity of cinnamon we were buying. That's a lot. Are you baking a cake or something? Nah, lad. We're looking to get f***ing blasted. On cinnamon? Yeah, you never get blasted on cinnamon. Oh, I'd be a fan of taking a few tokes off it myself now and get nicely cinnamon toasted. PJ rolls up some cinnamon in some paper and shoves it up his arse and he'd be absolutely cinnamon rolling for the night. And Hef, well... Hef is fond of a bit of cinnamon sugar, if you know what I mean. So back at the house, we set the stage, and Adrian, the trooper, volunteers to go first. Now, honestly, I was optimistic about the whole thing myself. I thought, yeah, there'll be a bit of coughing, but we'll spit it out and we'll all laugh about it. So with high spirits, Adrian shoves a heaping spoon of it into his mouth and applied the tactic of blowing off little streams of cinnamon like he's venting pressure as he's chewed. But after what looked like a solid minute-long uphill battle, he suddenly erupts in powder like a coughing brown smoke signal. With all the gasping, coughing and aerated powder, it was like a breastfeeding pensioner was backhanded across the tits. He races to the sink only for all of us to discover how bad it gets. Turns out you can't just spit it out when you're done. The little bit of moisture you have in your mouth turns the cinnamon into this dry yet sticky mass that clumps to your mouth and tongue like a Chinese finger trap. So not only are you struggling to catch your breath through coughing, you also got to spend the next half hour leaning over the sink with what looks like a fresh dump hanging from your mouth, trying to use your fingernails to scrape it free. Now, of course, as you'd expect, being the caring and concerned friends that we are, we were laughing so hard we were tearing up. But to say after seeing that I was a little less enthusiastic about the whole thing would be an understatement. But man code rules were in place, so as soon as he put that spoon of cinnamon in his mouth, the rest of our fates were cemented. Next up was Hef. Soon as he took the spoon, he adopted the mannerisms of somebody who just got some really bad news but also needs a shit. He couldn't sit still and did his best to fight it, but he didn't fare much better and was soon joining Adrian over the sink, fighting over the tap. PJ was up after this and he seemed to be doing quite well. In fact, he was throwing everybody a face that read, "I don't know what you pansies are crying about, this is easy." But then we noticed he was actually being a little bit dubious. He wasn't actually trying to eat it, he was just leaving it rest in his mouth and being careful to breathe through his nose. Of course, the second we called him out on this, he did a half chew, his face turned sour and he practically launched away in a cloud of powder. Then it was my turn. Now, being a smoker for many years at this stage, I was quietly confident that my tar-coated lungs and my skills at suppressing a cough would protect me and bank me a respectable time. So, like a big swinging dick, I sat down, smirked at the lads as if to say, "Watch and learn, ladies." Shoved the spoon into my mouth, took 2 chews, which triggered my gag reflex. I coughed, I gagged again, I coughed, nearly puked, coughed, made guttural throaty noises like I was drowning, and ran towards the sink with teary eyes. I was making noises and pulling faces I had only ever seen when I looked down when the missus was paying the rent. So yeah, didn't go well. Last up was Katrin, who employed the tactic of vigorous jazz hands to get through it, which seemed to work actually, because she got by far the most chews in. Granted, in a game where you have to take something horrible in your mouth, she had a bit of an unfair advantage being a woman and all, but it was no less impressive. She eventually fell and joined the rest of us over at the sink, taking turns gargling tap water, trying to wash the taste of cinnamon out of our mouths. It was about 3 in the morning at this stage, but things weren't over yet. No. You see, we had heard of another challenge called the Banana and Sprite Challenge. Apparently, if you eat 2 bananas and guzzle a 2-litre bottle of Sprite, some sort of mental mad chemical reaction happens in your stomach that causes you to projectile vomit all over the place. And given we were men of science, we decided to put this to the test and picked up some Sprite and bananas while we were at the shop. Now all we needed was a willing volunteer.
F***ing banana me up already.
So the unflinching Hef chomps down on 2 bananas and downs a 2-litre bottle of Sprite in about 5 minutes flat. And apart from some foamy burps and feeling rather bloated, nothing really happens right away. Now, what I haven't mentioned about this video was, we had recently bought a really cheap camera as we were starting to dabble in some filmmaking. So we recorded pretty much the entire night on camera. Maybe I'll release the footage after I hit my 222,000 sub goal. But for now, thankfully what happens next doesn't need to show our faces. So on a rare treat, I can actually show you the event. So Hef is sitting there with a stomach full of bananas, Sprite and a spoonful of cinnamon and looks at us and says, "I'm not feeling anything." Then 30 seconds later, he stands up and this happens.
There we go, that's it. That's the
Oh, nice little f***ing sitting room, kid.
Hey, it works! Oh my god!
Get in there.
Oh,
Now, there's one detail that I will always find absolutely hilarious, and it's a little tricky to make out in the footage, but let me explain with this top-down floor plan of the house. So you got your kitchen here, sitting room here through the double doors, hallway, and downstairs bathroom here. For context, this has been your view through the video. So we're all in the kitchen here. Hef first throws up on the floor here, then made his vomity way to the bathroom, leaving his biggest chunder here, in the centre of the sitting room, before rounding the corner, down the hall, and into the bathroom where he ejected his final gob of banana Sprite. You with me so far? Good. Now, in the footage here, you see that door? Guess where that leads? That's right, the bathroom. Rather than taking the fastest route, he did a lap of honour around the house, splattering as he went. The banana and Sprite challenge works then, right? No. At least it's not a special reaction that makes you sick. We all knew well it was just going to be a result of having too much stuff in your stomach. Same thing would probably happen if you had 3 slices of toast and a 2-litre bottle of Pepto. But we were having a good time, so nobody wanted to shit in the kettle. I mean that metaphorically. What a story about the antics about the boys. That kind of does need clarification sometimes. So there you have it, lads. That's just another one of the random days and night shenanigans that we had gotten up to in our time living together, and I hope you chuckled just as much as we did that night. If you had fun, leave me a like, as it makes me feel all tingly in my special area, and I will catch you lads and ladies in the next one.